The first romance book I ever read was Beach Read by Emily Henry, and I continued to read a lot of romance books after this one. But what got popular continued to evolve throughout the years, and I started reading it less and less. So I wanted to collect some of the most popular romance books that I have not read and see if I think they're worth the hype, see how my taste has evolved. Also, I just wanted to mention I've been kind of absent from posting videos because I've been in my writing cave working on my second draft of my novel. I'm really enjoying writing, and if you want more updates, I've been posting them on my Instagram or shorts if you like YouTube shorts. So that's why it's been like one video a month, but one day what I'm working on will be in your hands hopefully, and it will all be worth it, and I'm so excited for you guys to read it one day. But for now, let's read some other romance books and see what I think. It's 6 p.m. on a Monday. I'm about to start Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. I love this cover. I'm assuming it's set in New York. All I know about this book is that she's pregnant, and I think it was unexpected. I also know that a lot of my friends have rated this very highly. I've been staring at it on my shelf for months, so I'm very excited to read it. Landed in Vegas. We're about to eat at Hell's Kitchen, but my flight was very nice because I read the book the entire time and it was so good, and I'm actually very excited to finish it. I am randomly in Las Vegas right now. Ryan and I flew here very quickly just for the night to film Gordon Ramsay's restaurant and we're flying back right now. So I read Ready or Not the entire flight, which is just such a great indicator that it's a good book because I always picture myself reading for entire flights, but I hardly ever do. And I also feel like every time I read books, I almost always enjoy the first 50 pages because I really like to learn all the new characters and the world and just getting kind of settled into this new place. But then past 50 pages is really where I decide if I like the book or not. So this one obviously starts off with a bang. She's finding out that she's pregnant in the first chapter. The main people that you're following are Eve, and then Ethan, and then her best friend Willa, and her brother Shep. But it's just so bingeable. Her writing is very whimsical is not the right word, but it's lighthearted and makes fun of itself because it is kind of a difficult topic. Like, it's not a pregnancy that she was planning, so she's not feeling awesome about it all the time, but she doesn't write it in a dark way. It's just kind of self-deprecating, I guess. And I also feel like she's doing a really good job of making the characters three-dimensional. Like, she doesn't make the characters just good or bad. They're pretty well-rounded, I would say, which is very impressive. I wasn't really expecting that. So I'm 279 pages into it. I think I have like 100 pages left, and I'm very excited to finish it on this next flight. The romance is slowly but surely blooming between Eve and Shep, which they've been childhood friends for decades, but they've never thought of each other like that. And the way that she's showing that love blooming is just so sweet. It's a very acts of service love language coded book. And then if I finish that, I'm gonna start Powerless on my Kindle. I actually did bring it with me, but that book is big. I'll actually go get it. Here's our next book sneak peek. This is one of the original indie covers, I think, which is fun. All of the chapters have like black and white photos, which I've hardly ever seen before. But anyways, this one's next if we finish this one on the flight. So let's fly. It's been a few days and I'm finally ready to review Ready or Not. I really enjoy sweet romance books. I don't like the overly lusty types of books, and I feel like this one is just the cutest, sweetest, acts of service, guy has been pining for her for years and she has no idea kind of trope. It's just a good story about this very unexpected pregnancy that happens and how someone can show up for you in your life over and over again, and kind of how love is an action, not just words or attraction. That kind of just rhymed on accident. And then you also see the sister of the love interest. She is best friends with this girl, and her best friend has been struggling with infertility, and then she got pregnant on accident. So it really explores that kind of dynamic and how to be there for each other as friends when you're going through things that are completely at odds with each other, especially when you're experiencing the thing that like triggers the other friend, and how you're supposed to navigate that. And yeah, it was just a really sweet read. I liked the New York City setting a lot, and everything was just very slice of life. You know, she would wake up, go to work, and this cover needs to win awards. I think that's so cool. I wore my floral tank top to kind of match it. Oh, I just realized what's on the cover. That's so cute. This cover will make so much sense if you read the book. I didn't even really notice that till right now. It's just such a sweet book. 4.25 stars. I'm really glad that I enjoyed this popular romance book because it's been a while since I've just picked up a general rom-com. Next up, I wanted to read a book from a very popular small town romance series. It's called the Chestnut Springs series. This shelf right here is where all of my indie romances are, and this book series was originally an indie romance book series, and then it got traditionally published, but this is one of the indie covers, I believe. There's a cover that's even older than this one, which has two people on the cover. It's like just a photograph that you would see on Instagram, but just on the cover. But I was really excited to read this because that series is probably one of the most hyped up small town romance book series on TikTok and in general. And I tried to read the first one. These are the first two: Flawless, Heartless, and then Powerless. And I think they're interconnected because they're all about the different siblings. Like each brother gets a book. I love the covers. They're like a country boy type of romance, and people were just freaking out about this series. So I think a year and a half ago, I tried to read the first book. These are dusty. And then I DNF'd it because I got to the spice scene and I was like, oh, this is not the book for me. Put it away. But time does a funny thing, and curiosity always kills the cat, because I was like, you know what? I'll just skip the middle book. I'm not invested in the series as a whole. Let me just read the one that people like the most. And a lot of people say Powerless is their favorite one. This one is childhood friends to lovers, which is one of my favorite tropes ever. So I wanted to give it a try. And I think I got less than 60 pages in before I closed it and said, you know what? I remember why this series was not for me in the first place. I think that series like these are really fun for like the found family trope and everything, but they are just very lust heavy. And it's not like the characters don't have more to bond over than that, but it's, if you want to skip spice scenes, books like these, you can't really just skip a scene or two. Like, it's not just like a few pages, it's just kind of written throughout everything. So I'm putting these back on the shelf. I'm glad that I have the indie covers because I just weirdly like them. But this is one of those super popular romance book series that I just think is not going to be for me. But a different one that I'm hoping is going to be for me is the Keeping Binding 13 Boys of Tommen series, I think is what it's called. I read the first book in this video. To my surprise, I gave it 4.5 stars. Sometimes Wattpad writing is absolutely amazing, and this is one of those examples. It's definitely very crude language. So they're Irish, and there's even a glossary at the beginning that has all of the slang words that they use and what they mean. So their speech is super crude and brash, but the actual relationship between the two characters is really sweet, kind of like bonding story of why two people would be drawn together for reasons other than attraction. And then I had started the second book because this one leaves on a cliffhanger, and there's very serious trigger warnings for abuse in the entire series, and they're like very long scenes. So this book kind of starts off with a really brutal scene, and they just drag on for so long that I couldn't read it anymore. It took some time apart, but I feel like I want to try it again because right now I'm just in the middle of this cliffhanger. So let's jump back in with Keeping 13. Okay, this is crazy. I just booted it up on my Kindle for the first time since however many months ago that video was, and it says I'm 24% through this book already, which granted, I think the book is like over 600 pages, which is insane, but that's crazy. I got really far into it. I thought I had gotten like 3 chapters in, but apparently not, so this is great. And even just reading the first 3 lines on this page makes me miss the characters, so I'm very excited to finally pick this back up again. I got a package at the door when I get every month, so quick pause to thank Book of the Month for sponsoring this video. If you don't already know, they are a book subscription service, one that I am personally subscribed to because I've found so many new books and authors from them, and they come every month in this cute little box, or you can skip it for free. And they have a team of people who read the books and then choose them, and they really do try to focus on debut authors or people you've probably never heard of before, or people you have heard of, but knowing that Book of the Month chose them just gives me this extra confidence that I'm going to enjoy the book. So this month I chose P.S. I Hate You by Lauren Connolly. The cover is so cute, and they're all hardback, which I just love because my eyesight has gotten worse throughout the years, and I just love the large text of hardbacks. Half the reason I love being subscribed to them so much is because of their app. I just feel like it's so easy to use, and every month the picks will come out, which is really exciting. So they have a literary fiction, a memoir, a romance, and a fantasy for November. And as you can see in green, it says debut, or this one says early release. And I just really like that they focus on debut authors because I would have never heard about these people otherwise. And I also am working on my first book ever, which means that I will one day become a debut author. And I just think it's cool that they take a chance on new authors because it's scary to be a new author. It's hard to get out there. And I've found so many books that I love. So if you want to join, they have a code, Turkey, for your first book for $9.99, which is insane because it's hardback. And I'll leave my link in the description. But thank you, Book of the Month, for sponsoring this video. I'm obsessed with them. Guys, after seeing this on TikTok for like 2 years, I finally bought it. It's a Kindle stand, and then this thing attaches to this remote, and I can turn the page with this clicker. For me, I get tension headaches almost every day because of bad posture and keeping tension in my neck. So this will make sure that my head stays level instead of looking down like this. I literally just got this in the mail and then set it up within 2 minutes. So I'll link it in the description which one I bought. But this part is just like a clip. Like you can just clip it anywhere you want, and it's adjustable. And then this part can move however you want it to. I just got back home from an appointment, and this has gotten even better because now I'm laying down and I can still do this. It's literally hovering in the air above me. and I can just do this. This is so nice. Good morning, guys. It's gotta be like the 5th day that I'm reading Keeping 13. I've been reading it on the Kindle, but I am opening up the book to see where I'm at, and it looks like I'm about exactly halfway through. So technically I've already read what a normal book size would typically be for a romance, which is like 300 pages, but we have another 300 pages to go in this massive brick of a book. I thought I would try to maximize my coziness for the day so that I would just want to sit down for hours on end and read today, which is a dream, of course. It's kind of windy and stormy, which is kind of the perfect vibe. So I moved this little arm thing to the tripod because it doesn't fit on my shelves. Like I can't clamp it onto these, they're too thick. So I have Spock in his new bed, which he loves, and then I have this little arm thing attached to the tripod. We have the Kindle here, I have my clicker, I have my coffee, and we're just going to hopefully knock out the rest of the book right now. So far, I feel like I am liking the first book better than the second one. This one is very repetitive. Part of the repetitiveness of it is quite sad because it's about her home life, obviously, which is part of the, or is like the main trigger warning on the book. And that stuff is just really sad to read about, and it keeps happening. So you keep having to read it, and you know, it's just no fun to read. We're also seeing Johnny and Shannon's relationship where they are finally in a relationship now. So it's pretty interesting to read a romance book where they're already in the relationship, because most books you're reading, hopefully and usually, they get together right at the end of the book and then it ends. This one, you're kind of going through how difficult it is to be in a relationship because of her family, which is really sweet because you get to see how Johnny gets to be there for her in those situations. But other than that, it's kind of like a coming of age type of, you know, typical hormonal high school experience. So it's definitely less, it's definitely more explicit in this one, I would say. Unsure of my thoughts so far, but I'm gonna read with my nice little setup and hopefully we can finish it today because I just need to read. I need to finish a book for my morale to go up because I feel like I haven't finished a book in so long. The sun is setting. It's setting so early now because yesterday was daylight savings, but I just hit 407 pages. So I've only read 100 so far, but I feel like I've been sitting here for hours. Still 200 pages to go. I mean, I guess I just feel like I'm reading a 600-page book, and I just don't think that I read as fast as I used to, or I don't have the attention span as I used to just sit down and like binge a book, but that's the update. I'm now not home, as you can see. I'm in California right now for my 4-year anniversary with Ryan, but I'm gonna show you something that I've been working on since pretty much February, and now it's November, which is crazy, but if you were there, I launched book sleeves and bookmarks for the first time. Those sold out so fast, and then after that, I immediately started working on this, and it's taken so long because I wanted to remake the book sleeve, and here she is. I've stuffed this one to the brim, which you obviously don't need to do, but we redesigned it from being a button and an elastic clasp to this puffier stitched pattern with a zipper on the top. So I've put 2 books in here, which is kind of a lot. We have my reading journal and a paperback in here. And then there's a pocket at the front for your Kindle or your sticky notes or your tabs, and then I have some pens here. I also want to get into scrapbooking, so things that I've collected on our anniversary trip, I've also just kept them in here. But everything is like quilted and padded, and it's like a little bed for your book to go to sleep in, especially when traveling and like putting things in your luggage. I feel like the edges of books can get so wrinkled really fast. My camera died on the trip, but here's a side-by-side of the first book sleeve I ever released. I obviously still am obsessed with this and think it's so cute, but this one was an open top with a button closure, and then this is the new one, so it's smaller, but it has the 2 pockets and then the zipper and the quilting, which is what I really wanted. So, and I will also be releasing a matching bookmark, again without a tassel this time, and these are in production right now, so I don't have an exact date of when they're gonna come out, but if you want to go to haleypham.com, you can put your email in to be notified, or just follow me on Instagram. I will put the link on my story whenever it comes out, but I'm just so excited, so I wanted to show you guys. But back to the trip, I finished Keeping 13, and then I picked up another book that I previously said in this video that I had DNF'd. I'm back from the trip, and on the trip I actually finished 2 books and started a new one. Finished Keeping 13, which means we've completed the Boys of Tommen series, or what I have of it so far. I think there's a lot more books that I don't own. They don't even make them in these covers anymore. That's how long it's been. Will I continue the series? I don't know. I will review this later. And then since I was already on the trip and I had no other books, I just had my Kindle with me. I didn't want to buy something brand new and start from the beginning, and I was already like 16% through Powerless, which I said I wasn't gonna finish, but this always happens when I'm on a trip and all I have is my Kindle. I always just end up opening something back up that's like halfway finished. So I ended up finishing this entire thing, which means I definitely know a little something about the Chestnut Springs world now, and I will review this book later as well, because the last book I'm reading for this video is You Again by Kate Goldbeck, which has one of the most amazing covers I think I've ever seen. But I'm 174 pages into this, so I'm going to try to finish this. Right now I'm really enjoying it. I picked it up at the airport actually in San Francisco, and then got like 130 pages into it on the plane, and it's jumping time a lot, and it's more of like a literary fiction romance, which is really what I was craving after reading 2 indie romance series books. So I'm gonna go read this, and I will let you know my thoughts on those 2 books in a second. Good morning. I was reading this last night, but then people came over to watch football, so I stopped reading it. But I'm on page. I started highlighting some more last night. I was highlighting in the beginning of the book, and I am still highlighting. I think this book is getting even better than I already liked it. I don't know if I just said words that made sentence. Yeah, this book is getting good. I think I'm just appreciating it a lot because my taste these days is very like literary fiction with romance subplots, and that is what this book is. I also just love unlikable characters. I don't know why. I feel like sometimes I perceive myself as an unlikable character, so I like to read about other people who are just as messed up, because that's real life, you know, and it is fun to read books with very larger than life characters. Like in this series, they are really, really rich or athletes and like 6'9", and they all look perfect, or at least they do in my imagination, which is really fun to read about. But then sometimes it's also fun to read about people who are very unlikable and very broken in certain patterns. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm about halfway through still. I'm on page 197 out of 400 something pages. So I have my book, I have my coffee, and I'm gonna read in the library, and I'm just very excited. This book in the fall, what could be better? Just for fun, it's 11:32 a.m. Let's see when I finish 200 pages. The last thing I highlighted is Ari stiffens at the unexpected tenderness. Sometimes it's not until she encounters genuine parental affection that she recognizes the utter lack of it in her life. It hurts more to fill a cavity than to leave it empty. Kate Goldbeck can write. Listen to this quote. First of all, before I read the quote, the setting is magical. It's about to be New Year's Eve in New York City. They're outside. There are people cheering. There are fireworks. It is such a well-written scene. I was kind of blown away. Like wow. Okay. And these 2 people have been in the friend zone for like 8 years. Right now, just friends is a comfortable certainty. A gravity blanket, a subtle vanilla scented candle, and the alternative is a giant blinking cursor and a blank document. Sometimes it feels like Josh has already been poking around that page, writing passages and deleting them before she's ready to open it. That's so good. I love a good metaphor. And then I could totally be reading into this way more than the author intended. I don't know how I will ever get confirmation of this unless the author personally tells me herself, but at the end of this chapter, she tries to walk back up the hill that they walked down, but she's wearing stilettos, so it's quite difficult to walk up it, and it's like a callback to a joke that they were making previously. And she says to Josh, I can't get up the hill, and he makes a little kind of passive-aggressive callback to a joke she made earlier and says, I guess you'll just have to live there. And in my head, totally could be reading into this, but I feel like it's kind of a metaphor for I can't get up the hill, and the hill is this misbelief she has about relationships never working out and that monogamy is overrated. And then he says, I guess you'll just have to live there. Who knows? Kate Goldbeck, if you could let me know if that's what you were thinking while writing it, or if I just added that meaning. Either way, pretty cool end to the chapter. I feel like she ends her chapters by wrapping up something that happened previously in it, which is just very clever, and I love clever writing. It's now 3:12 and I just finished this book. I read for 3.5 hours straight. I haven't had the attention span to read a book for that many hours consecutively without checking my phone, without really doing much else. What a banger of a book. A lot of people find this book really frustrating because the characters are very unlikable and they're really struggling, and they struggle with the same patterns of avoidance of emotions and having unhealthy relationships for pretty much the entire book until the end, and it feels like they don't change at the end, which is a totally valid criticism. One of the most frustrating things about books is if characters don't have any arc. It kind of defeats the whole purpose of reading a book. You're supposed to watch a character go from A to hopefully Z, be somewhere completely different by the end of it. But I think the thing that did it for me in this book is, number one, her writing was amazing. She can write so well. I want to read the books that she puts out next. You also get to read from his perspective, and it's third person, which I feel like is becoming a common theme of books that I like. Literary fiction kind of third person romance books. His point of view made this entire book for me because, in my opinion, Ari was more insufferable than he was. He was very insufferable at the beginning and less so throughout the book because you really get to know him and see inside of his brain, and he's much more sensitive and comfortable with his emotions than she is, and watching him just like fall apart because of how much he likes her was so cute to read. Like, you watch him just flail on his bed and text all of her friends because he just can't stop thought spiraling about her, which is so cute. Like, I feel like that's usually something you would read from the girl's perspective, so to see the guy doing it in this book was just so amazing. And I love that he just continued to be obsessed with her even though he really had no reason to be, and even though she could not get over herself and she couldn't get past her inability to open up to people, he just kept on trying. And I think it's really cool that we got to see her kind of be at war in herself of like things that she said she believed versus what she actually believed in action, because she says that she's against these monogamous relationships and getting married. There's no point to it. It's just a Hallmark idea. But then if you watch her actions, she just very much does not line up with that at all. And there was something endearing about that, because I think we all do that a little bit, where we lie to ourselves and act in a completely different way than we say we believe. So yeah, I don't know. This book was just really good. I haven't read a romance book like this from an author I haven't heard anything about and liked it this much in a really long time, other than when I discovered Vari McFarlane for the first time this year. I think the way that she constructed scenes was just so impressive. Like, I feel like I was very immersed. All of the conversations were set in really cool settings, and she would talk about the music playing in the background, which I feel like is something that Lynn Painter did in Better Than the Movies, and it always just paints a really nice picture for me. It feels more movie-esque when they tell you what song is playing in the background. This sentence pretty much sums up Ariana's character in the book. If she's flushed, it's because she never feels comfortable when she's not facing an exit, which she probably doesn't realize because she feels funny admitting that to people. So she always needs an exit plan, and she would never communicate that to anyone. I love a good one-liner, like a good witty observation, and this book has a lot of them. This is from his point of view. There's this idea of her that exists in his mind, where she's some kind of enigma, where the passcodes are always off by one number, where she almost opens up but not quite. So it's a lot of that. So if that's gonna frustrate you, then you might not like this book, but I feel like I just understood where that was coming from, so it didn't annoy me as much. Okay, this quote was so good. It's like she sees everything. The self-loathing, the judgmental tendencies, the mistakes that haunt him at night, the face that's made him self-conscious his entire life, and she wants him. The face that's made him self-conscious his entire life, and she wants him. That is so good. I also was laughing out loud. Like, some of the text messages were making me laugh. There's this quote that Josh says when he tries to date other people and it doesn't work out. But how do you explain to someone that you just want your conversations to spark? That you want to laugh because you can't help it, not force a chuckle out of politeness? That instead of just listening to the anecdotes you've told 6 other dates, you need them to hear the parts you're not saying, to know you better than anyone else. I read that all wrong because it's all question marks, but you know. Trying and failing to ignore the emotional grenades threatening to go off in his head. How he feels Ari's absence every single day. How she's taken root in some deep, inaccessible place that can't be edited or overwritten, just managed, like a chronic illness. Like, saying that your love for someone that has nowhere to go is like a chronic illness. Why do I like that? I love that quote. But yeah, I'll end this review by saying 4.5 stars, and I will quickly review Keeping 13 and Powerless. I didn't want to review these for too long because when I don't enjoy something, I don't want to talk about it for that long, because now that I'm writing my own book, I cannot help but picture the author and how much they loved the characters in the book while they were writing it. So if I don't like it, I don't feel the need to like harp on it too much, especially too because there's like huge fandoms for both of these books. I definitely enjoyed Keeping 13. Don't get me wrong on that. There's just a lot of heavy stuff in here that caused me to put it down and then pick it back up again. And honestly, overall, I love the characters in this series. So I would probably give this book a 4 because I just like the characters characters, but I don't know if I'll continue it just because of how drawn out the difficult to read scenes are. And then with this one, I just think it comes down to personal taste when it comes to like indie romance books. The writing is a lot less flowery. It's very literal and it's very curse word heavy and just kind of casual writing, if that makes sense. And my taste has definitely become more of this like flowery for the sake of being flowery type writing. So it's just a preference thing. So this romance series is very popular, but it's not particularly for me. It's very like larger than life. Like there's a pair of sisters in this book where one is named Summer and one is named Winter. So it's not going for like a realistic vibe. It's going for this escapism, and I think she's created a really fun world. But yeah, that's what I'll say on that. But these two books in this video, similar covers because they both take place in New York City and they both were rated pretty high for me. But thanks for watching this video and bearing with me as I am more absent while I try to write my own romance book. It's so scary to say that every time. But if you want to keep up, I think Instagram is the place to be. And other than that, I will see you somewhere else on the internet. Bye!